Ani, good morning, good afternoon for some. I'm going to start our land-based learning webinar with a smudge. So I have 4 medicines here. So with some tobacco to invite our ancestors in so they can guide us today. A little lecture in today. Then I have some sage to clear our minds and our bodies and opening us up to sharing in a good way. We have some sweetgrass to offer some healing if we need it today. We have some cedar, which I like to see as a layer of protection in our sharing circle today too. So I've been really excited about gathering here today, and although we're not all here in a physical space, I'd like to take a moment and try to offer the smudge in the 4 directions and maybe try picturing being together in a space right now. I know a lot of us were able to gather for our events, and I really appreciated being in Sioux Lookout and Thunder Bay. The smudge is really burning today. Sometimes we have troubles with that, so I'm happy that smoke is going. So with that, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Anchor Cohort Land-Based Learning Storytelling webinar. We're joined by the Nourish team today. So Jen, Robin, and Rachel are here, for whom you all know. And also some of the Nourish advisory is here as well. So I'd like to welcome those who made it today. So some of our advisory might have some questions or reflections about the activities that were held. Hopefully no one's feeling any pressure or nervousness today. We're just really excited to have this conversation and get together and see each other's faces, even though I can't see anybody right now, which is really unfortunate. I was really looking forward to see all the faces. We also have Tessie Harris here, who is part of our Nourish Indigenous and Allies Advisory, and she was also a past innovator with our last cohort. So I'm just going to invite Tessie to say hello and introduce herself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Meyer, for opening and this opportunity. I'm joining today from the unceded and occupied territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. I'm here in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I'm really excited to hear about the events, about the learnings, and I'll just be taking some notes, and I'll be supporting Meyer to try to synthesize some of the learnings and activities back to the Frontline Fund in a short report over the next few weeks. So yeah, I won't take any more time. I'm excited to hear from you.
Thanks, Tessie. So Tessie has been supporting our Indigenous foodways work since its inception. And I'm so happy that you're able to continue your amazing work with us and support this land-based learning, and of course all the teams that are here today. So we're very excited to hear from all of you, and as we share stories of what happened with your land-based learning events. And as you know, Nourish offered these grants in early summer to support land-based learning with a hope to catalyze relationship building and learning with Indigenous partners and knowledge keepers in your area. So I know we have a lot to pack in the next 2 hours, and I do apologize in advance if it feels too rushed. So Tessie and I will be reaching out to meet more after this, because what we find is with these types of webinars, it triggers new or different memories that might not have been captured in your presentation. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to have 10 minutes for you to share, and I'll jump in just on the screen when there's 1 minute left to help you remind you of the time and to close up your presentation. And then we'll have a 5-minute question, kind of reflection, aha moment period from the group. You can unmute yourself and ask questions, or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can also drop it in the chat, and Tessie and I will monitor and read those for you if you like. And then we've also saved 15 minutes at the end for another discussion. So don't worry if your questions don't get answered after each presentation, we can follow up there. And also, as I mentioned, we will have another call too after. So if all the questions don't get answered today or all the sharing doesn't come out today, we'll definitely give you more opportunities to share. And then of course, we'll prepare a report and share it all back with you, hopefully by the end of November. So the presentation order is completely random today. So we didn't have any kind of system. So I just kind of dropped it in a hat, and it looks like we have Vancouver up first. So if you're ready, that would be wonderful. I'll stop sharing here.
Excellent.
I'm going to try to stop sharing. There we go.
Perfect. Start sharing my slides.
So we have Annie. Now I can see everybody.
There we go. Everyone's able to see this? I see some. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for welcoming us and for enabling us to take part in this activity. It was a really wonderful experience for our team, and we're very thankful. So I'm happy to share this with you. I'm Annie. I'm one of the project leads for the Vancouver team. And before I begin, like Tessa, I'm also presenting and coming to you from the ancestral and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and I'm in Vancouver. So for our land-based learning grant workshop, we decided to reach out to a local Indigenous-owned cultural and eco-tour company called Tulese Tour, which we knew through some colleagues from Vancouver Coastal Health, Aboriginal Health. It's a group that's been in existence since 2002 and is co-owned by Candice and Larry Campbell, who are of Seychelles and Squamish First Nations. And our activities, we split up into 2 groups due to COVID restrictions, but we had our land-based workshop in Stanley Park, which, as you can see, is a very central part in Vancouver. It's our connection between the city and the North Shore, a place that a lot of people spend quite a bit of time running, walking, exploring, and just admiring the view. And I think one of the first things that was really interesting for us is just seeing this space in a new light. I've personally loved to walk around Stanley Park and really admired the biodiversity there, and thought I had some appreciation of how rich it was, but I don't think I had truly started to appreciate just how rich all of what these lands contained was. So we were guided through our activities by 3 members of the community. One is Sepulez. She's a traditional healer and herbalist who shared a lot of her stories about growing up and learning about a lot of traditional foods and medicine in her lands. On the left, you can see Candice, who is the owner and one of our guides, and Wes, another of the cultural guides who accompanied the second group. And throughout these, all of them shared stories and teachings, and really helped our group to start understanding how the land contributes to health and medicines, technology and transport, and evidently food and nourishment. And this is Aswad Sapolaz, who's showing us showing us some of the winter berries. So there's been a lot of really wonderful discussions that have been generated through these activities and afterwards. For us, one of the main things that became even more evident than it was before is how food culture and traditions is inherently connected. And we were quite interested to see how trade in a sense was set up in a way that fostered community rather than individualism, which is not something that we are, or something that is quite a paradigm shift for a lot of people living in a capitalist society. And it was interesting to see how a lot of the desire to take care of each other comes from connectedness. And it fosters a culture of giving rather than accumulating. It essentially ensures the safety and survival of communities through stronger linkages and groups being interdependent for resources. It also gave us a much deeper appreciation of the importance of traditional foods and medicine for cultural identity, something that we had some thoughts about, or some initial understanding of, but something that was much deepened throughout our activities and beyond, and highlighted the importance of sustainability and community well-being. It also generated a lot of very interesting discussions around the linkages with healthcare, where we gain a much deeper appreciation of and respect for traditional knowledge. We often, traditional knowledge will be compared or can be thought of as inferior to quote unquote evidence-based Western medicine. But what became really evident to us is that Indigenous research has been going on for time immemorial, and a lot of the findings and learnings that people have done through these years have transcended generations. And it really highlighted how these two are, like, at the very least complementary, but shouldn't be compared in terms of inferior and superior, and something that will generate a lot of interesting discussions moving forward as well. Something else that we discussed was how food is a way of taking care of oneself and of each other. And something is healthcare can sometimes promote a loss of agency in the sense that we clinicize a lot of things like food, which becomes something that we prescribe. But it promotes loss of agency in the sense that people can't make decisions about their food as much when we're stuck in a way that there's only one right way to take care of oneself and to take care of health. But it's encouraged us to see this more of a holistic model where multiple pathways are not only necessary but celebrated. In our process of being on the land and seeing Stanley Park through a new set of eyes, we became a lot more aware of our connection to the land and its importance. It's led many of us to question how we related to our own land. And it's interestingly led us to realize that healthcare institutions are inherently place-based, even though some people who work there might move around quite a bit. And it's helped us to reflect how we could try to integrate in our community more fully and highlight our role as hubs and better and more fully. So we were reflecting on how some of the hospitals used to be a hub where children would come and eat at cafeterias, for instance. And this, we think, has been lost over the years, in part because due to some of the roots of the wicked problem that we've identified in some of our wicked problem discussions, things like colonialism, capitalism, growth economy, and financial valuation, none of which put any value on connectivity and community well-being. And we're really curious to explore this further in discussions, and I think it'll involve a major shifting of mindset of healthcare institutions to become or re-emerge as anchor institutions. And importantly, this is only the beginning. It was a really wonderful first step for our group, as many of us had been working together through Zoom screens for a while, and it's really highlighted the importance of togetherness. And we started seeing our land through different eyes, but there's a lot more questions that now need to be addressed. And a lot more paths to explore. We've discussed a lot how our perception of evidence is quite narrow. And this is something that as an institution, as a healthcare authority and beyond, we'll have to look into and learn how to navigate to balance to ensure that our patients have access to treatments that improve their health in a way that is safe, holistic, and promotes respect, agency, and self-determination. And the final thing I will share that became evident in our discussions is just how far off the mark we are. And it's not to say that there hasn't been really wonderful work and improvements that have been happening over the years, especially to try to improve sustainability in healthcare in the last years. But the bottom line is that it ultimately hasn't resulted in increased connectedness, both to our land and to each other. And this is something that we're really looking forward to exploring in our place-based retreat and in further discussions. And with all of that, I will stop sharing, and I'd be really happy to take any questions or discussions.
Thanks, Annie. They look really exciting. Does anybody have any questions or comments? And don't be shy. Just feel free to take yourself off mute too and just talk away. I might call, oh, I see a hand up. Let's see, I'm just gonna invite you to speak. Oh. Can you just take yourself off mute? I can't see who it is.
Hi, Meyer. It's Shelley and Margaret.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Margaret was curious about who went out on the land from the team. She was wondering if there were doctors or people that.
Sorry, wait a
ran the
second. I
hospital.
can't hear Shelley. Has she selected a language at the bottom of the screen? Sorry, Shelley. Would you mind selecting a language, either in English or French, on the interpretation option?
Can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'll ask my question again. I think Margaret was wondering who went out on the land. Was it folks like doctors or folks that run the hospital? Who went on your learning journey?
Quite a few people actually. So all the members of our team went in two separate groups, but we had physicians. One of our leads is a surgical oncologist. I'm a resident. And a PhD student at UBC. We had some of our members from their operations, so who deal with food services in the hospital, both at the local but also regional level. Some of our dietitians from different health authorities in the neighborhood. We had people from leadership as well, and from Vancouver Coastal Health, Public Health, and Aboriginal Health. So it's quite a diverse group, and it was really appreciated by everyone who was in attendance.
Thank you.
And Robin was there as well, yes.
I was gonna call out Robin to say a few words if you wanted to say anything, Robin. Put you on the spot.
Sure, yeah, I'm just turning my camera on. Hi, everyone, can you hear me? Yeah, no, thank you. Just, I mean, I can't add much to what Annie shared. I think I was so appreciative of the opportunity to be there with you as well. We had a beautiful day. And one of the things that stood out to me was just, as you say, you know, Stanley Park is such a popular place, and most people that live in Vancouver have been there or go there regularly. And to see it through this new lens was really a beautiful and yeah, it was an experience that I felt such a privilege to be a part of, because going through and looking at the bushes and the different plants that we would always just walk by and maybe not think twice of, and then understanding more about how that connects to the history of our First Nations people in this region and what the meaning has been for them, for their health and well-being and cultural identity for so long. It was just such a wonderful gift. So yeah, I was really appreciative to be there with you, Annie, and thank you so much for sharing some of the insights and conversations that followed for you afterwards, because I think that was another key thing, is that it wasn't just about being there in the moment in that day, but it's about the conversations that are prompted after. So yeah.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Annie. So I'm going to call on Northern Ontario next to go, and I believe it's Jessica who's presenting.
Hey, so I can share my screen.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. Just a reminder, Jessica, could you try to select the language at the bottom of your screen so we could hear you in French? There's a globe icon at the bottom, and if you click on it, you can select English there, and then we'll be able to hear you in French.
Did I do it, Rachel?
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
So Joe might co-present with me. I don't know. Hold on. I'm gonna... All right. Bonjour. My name is Jess McLaughlin, and I am in Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is the Robinson Superior Treaty and the traditional territory of the Fort William First Nation people. So this is funny. I don't know if all my group has seen this, but I went and like renamed. So I'll explain a little bit, but I went and renamed our group. So Giwadin Anishinaabe Way, which really our group is Northern Ontario. But really what this translates to in my language is North humans. So the humans that live in the North. And so it's October 27th, which means it's Gashgadano Gizis. Which means it's freezing over moon here in Thunder Bay and in this region close to Lake Superior. Yeah, I don't know how to flip. Sorry, watch it, I'll go 40 slides. I wanted to use PowerPoint. There. Okay, I just wanted to explain a little bit because we're a little bit different in our cohort. So Northern Ontario, as you can see on the map, is 2/3 the size of Ontario, or 2/3 of Ontario. The rest is Southern Ontario. Our wicked problem is lack of Indigenous food sovereignty in Northern Ontario. I wanted to just talk about that for a minute because you will see through our slides that it looks like Indigenous food sovereignty is not lacking in Northern Ontario, but I think what our wicked problem is around the lack of Indigenous food sovereignty weaved within the systems that we operate in. So that is our wicked problem. Our team has a cumulative Northern Ontario food experience for 15 to 20 years. So all of us have been working, living, playing, loving the place that we are for the last 15, or in my case, and actually probably all of our cases for our whole lives. So yeah. We have hundreds in our regular positions, hundreds of partnerships that pertain to this work, but you will see that our territory is super vast and has lots of travel time. There's 7 health units, public health units in Northern Ontario, 103 First Nation communities, and 10 Aboriginal health access centers. So that's just a little bit of context, not talking about our event yet. In developing the slides, I kind of just went exactly by what Nourish was asking, so I don't know if it's boring or, but anyways, our event happened in Treaty 3 territory, and it was a land-based learning event, and it literally was on the land, and it's the traditional territory of Abishokokan, or Lac-Seul First Nation. So the purpose of our gathering was really to bring organizations and people together who are doing or supporting Indigenous food sovereignty in the Treaty 3 area. So in our vast territory that we showed you in the first slide, we have relationships all over there, but in some places we are lacking those relationships. So Treaty 3 was one of those places where we wanted to build more relationships, learn about the work further, and start building our community of practices. Our guest lists were Aboriginal health access centers, public health, the regional hospital, which we'll talk about in a minute, Indigenous practitioners, our team, Meyer came with us, and some of us brought our kids. What happened? We got a tour of Minoyawan Health Center, which I'll further talk about in a minute. We had presentations about some of the work that was happening in the region, and Nourished, and Meyer talked about Nourish to all the other organizations that will be coming into our practice over the next couple of years. And really, we just relationship build and ate food together. It's gonna happen every time I try to change my slide. Oh my God, I'm already at the miigwech. Okay, so this is just a picture of, this is in the hospital, the picture of, that's me and my co-lead Alex, and that's Sulikout you can see on the big dot. So this is a map of the hospital's catchment area that they serve in Northern Ontario. And you will notice all those dots at the top are remote First Nations that can only be accessed by winter road or plane. And on the other side, this is in the tent. So we were in a big tent outside, sharing, learning, and developing interventions to the work that we're all doing. I don't know. I just got my computer back. And it's acting up. Okay, every time.
No rush. We're seeing the photos and they look beautiful, Jess. Take your time.
Okay. So the Minoyawan Health Center's entrance. So these are just pictures from the trip. So like when you walk into Minoyawan, which is a health center that serves 34 remote First Nations among urban population of Indigenous people, this is like what you walk into when you first walk in. So it's a real big spectacle of cedar built by local people in the area. And then here again is where we were seeking interventions in the tent. So Indigenous food sovereignty, our cohort eats, breathes, thinks Indigenous food sovereignty every day. We are immersed in it in our own ways, but bring this forth within the work with each of us that are practicing. So each of us practice Indigenous food sovereignty within our own respective positions, and then we bring this to the cohort and learn together, and then learn from those other people that we're trying to bring in to this work. So the way we center Indigenous food sovereignty in our work is we work slow, we center relationships and reciprocity. We live and center a different narrative. So economies of abundance rather than economies of scale or market-based economies. We're starting to try to shift the narrative around what that looks like in our territory. We listen and take direction from community, and we use collective knowledge of the region and our partners. And so these are just some pictures of us actually practicing Indigenous food sovereignty in the North within our own jobs. So the first picture is a youth in Wanapitei. We got a moose a couple weeks ago. Sorry if anyone is offended by that picture. And up in the top corner is wild rice harvesting in Wakwamakwang this summer. So the healthcare connections that we had on this particular trip, so we visited Minoyawan Hospital and we toured the hospital. So Minoyawan's a unique hospital in that they're written into provincial legislation in Ontario, and they are the only center that is able to serve wild meat in their hospital to their patients. And this has been going on since the establishment of the hospital. And the reason why that happened is because they have a separate kitchen that they cook, store, and keep their wild meat in. It's done by a donation system from the 34 communities that you've seen on that map before. And in this picture on the, I guess my left, is some of that meat and stuff that's being stored in their freezer that is just for wild game. The picture in the middle is a picture of the medicine room. So in thinking of incorporating Indigenous sovereignty or Indigenous ways of knowing and being into healthcare, Minoyawan does that and uses traditional medicines in collaboration and traditional food in collaboration with modern science medicine to work with their patients in that area. So we also had 2 Aboriginal health access centers that were located in our area. So the Sulakau First Nations Health Authority and the Gizadzwin Health Center out of Fort Francis, which is also in Treaty 3. We also brought in local public health for very good reason. Is there's always overlap in our area, which I'm sure there is with you, with all of your respective areas as well. But local public health in Ontario has been given some sort of opportunity to be able to administer Indigenous food sovereignty. So when I talked about in the beginning about where does Indigenous food sovereignty kind of belong, or where is the problems, is like maybe that a public health institution that is non-Indigenous should not be maybe embarking on Indigenous food sovereignty practices, but working in collaboration with those who are doing so, such as the Sulakau First Nations Health Authority or Gizadzwin in Fort Francis and others that are located across our province. So our process of the land-based learning was spending time and building relationships through learning about our regional work, which helped us identify interventions for our future collaborative work. I'll just, before I kind of talk about the questions, is on the side here is a poster that we've developed in Northern Ontario that guides some of our work, and actually has guided the Anishinaabe people since time immemorial, which is the 13 moons. So it's a calendar of how we harvest foods. So we brought a board game to our event, and we played with some of the kids and start using language and centering the way sustainable living looked pre-contact. So just to answer Nourish's questions really perfectly is like what worked well. So meeting in person, being COVID safe, an outside event, you know, everyone was kind of super jazzed that we got to see each other because this had been a long time. It was summer, it was a beautiful territory. Local relations and sharing their work was really, so when we brought people from the area to tell us about what they were doing was really valuable to hear about the stuff that was happening on the ground. We did some networking, time together as a cohort. Inviting children is something that we're trying to do more and more in the practice of our work here in the North, and facilitated by Anishinaabe teaching tools like the 13 Moons poster. What worked less? We had a time crunch. We had a large geographic area, so we cannot get to Fort Severn easily. It costs upwards to $25,000 for our whole cohort to go up. So like that kind of stuff was not working well for us, and the lack of time to spend quality time with each other because it was kind of rushed, and the lack of funding due to our big geographic area. What will we do different next time? More collaborative planning. We're all busy and it was the summer, and yeah, I'd like to thank Dan Munshaw, who's on our team, who did a lot of that planning for us, and in partnership with Minnow Yawim. And more money always helps. And what advice would we give to others who are interested in doing something similar? We feel weird giving advice because our geographic situation, but advise when working with Indigenous communities to build relations and assume you know nothing. I think I'm done. Oh,
Thanks,
no.
Jess.
Oh, no, wait, I'm not done. This is quick. So this is a little bit quote we came out of after our gathering, which was, to us, the ways of Indigenous thinking is a worldview. We do not separate Indigenous worldview from the work we do. It is central to our practice. It's the systems in our area, and it's the systems in our area and beyond that need to take a seat and join the slow ride. And then the slide asked us to talk about other cool things that happen. So other cool things that happen is we visited other partner organizations. So we visited Roots to Harvest, which is a partner on this project. In retrospect, they do lots of great work in Thunder Bay, and it's an urban farm, and we visited and got to tour there. This is an outside shipping container that's turned into a refrigerator. And there's Meyer and all of us outside. And then we also got to tour Thunder Bay's Pioneer Long Ridge long-term care facility, which Dan Munshaw, a member of our team, is doing super awesome work with to incorporate traditional and local foods into their procurement strategy of the city of Thunder Bay's things. And this is a funny slide. We also got to have some responsible beers and laughs together. And this is me, Meyer, and Alex outside in Sulakau having a pint. And this was our budget. We didn't know if we had to talk about it, but we actually came in under budget at 6,347. That was our anticipated budget at 7,121, but we all also paid stuff from our own organizations. Yeah, so thank you. Sorry to take up so much time, and miigwech.
Thanks, Jess. That was awesome. I won't take up time right now in case there's other questions right away. We're good for questions. All right. Well, I can offer some words. Like, I had such a nice time, and it was so nice to meet everybody in person. I haven't even met the Nourish team in person yet, so it was it's really neat. I've been comparing that feeling since, and it was just so nice to be in Sioux Lookout and to see all the hard work that everyone's doing and all the success that is happening over there. It's unbelievable. It's very inspiring. So if there's any questions, well, it looks like, can we have access to the poster that you showed?
I have a question. I'm just curious about the relationships you're hoping to deepen with public health. Like, how did that play out? Has anything happened since then related to that? Or I'm just curious. And I think everyone's shy to ask questions because we're worried about time. So I'm just being bold and asking. And if there isn't time, Maya, you can tell me there isn't time.
No, there's time. There's 2 minutes.
Jen, so we all here have worked with public health. Actually, we have a member of public health on our cohort. You know, sometimes I talk out of tone, but it's like lower, like staff, like in those dietitian roles, really get it. It's this senior level that we're trying to break into, that like, so as we build our community practice around public health, so that's one of our things to unwind and try to figure out. This is where we'll be going. Like, Vincent, who sits on our team, has been doing this work for a long time and gets it. So those were the people there. So we're trying to come up with interventions. So like we said, this work is slow. And there has been a shakeup within public health here in the North. So we're looking forward to how the community of practice guides that shaking up a little bit more, or unwinding. I call it shake up, but anyways, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I think maybe this opportunity of doing this again or repeatedly or whatever, like, I'm really interested to see, starting to make some connections, wait to hear from the others of patterns and this opportunity maybe before us to continue to work in this way. Curious. Thanks.
Okay, so I've lost the team list here and all my notes that I've been taking. So if you're ready to go next, just go ahead.
I think it's me, Meyer. Is it
Thank
St.
you.
Joe's?
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, you can go ahead regardless, I think.
Awesome. Well, we just want to say thanks for letting us share today, and it's been super cool hearing from the other teams so far. I'm doing my best here to share our presentation. Did I do okay?
It looks good.
Okay, so just to set the scene for you, imagine a thriving network of hospitals where the budget's not restrictive, there's goodwill with senior leadership, all the departments are at the ready to help with big projects. Well, welcome to St. Joseph's Healthcare. We recognize we had a lot of privilege when it comes to getting a project like this done. So we had to identify, like, what were the main barriers? And that was that there was a lack of collective knowledge within the whole staffing group of there being a connection between land and food. So naturally, we were thrilled to get this grant, and we knew that we needed to apply it to a very rich learning experience, but that would be for a maximized group of people. So this led us to having what we called the Land and Food Fair, and it happened on September 23rd on the open grass at our Parkwood location. Here is my attempt at sharing a video, and I have only medium hope that it will work. Well, today we're out here in the beautiful drizzly weather to have a fair deepening everyone's understanding of the relationship between land and food, because what we eat and where we buy our food from does have a big impact on the planet. Today, we're really excited to feature a number of our partners. So we have environmental services really featuring composting and recycling, the different things we do to divert from landfill.
The goal of EVS is to make sure that we can recycle everything we can. We can throw into our green bins half-used stuff, like half a thing of milk. This bin we use for recycling paper towel, and this is something new that we have started. So we have put recycling containers in all the bathrooms.
What we do is we pick up all the organic waste as well as the paper towels, and this all gets transported to a local facility where they make renewable natural gas.
We also have our Indigenous community represented through smudge and sacred medicines and all the ways that the land is someone that we need to hold dear and take into consideration for our decisions. And we also have community partners. So Reforest London and Urban Roots London do a lot of work for forestry in the city and also farming in the city. So they're going to be teaching people about that. The Nourish Project is a 2-year effort to reduce our negative impact on the planet, specifically in food services. As we know, to feed people, there's different impacts on power, labor, the planet in many different ways. And what we want to do is do a better job of where we source food, how we reduce food waste, and ultimately even grow on site, so we know that we're doing a good job for our environment. Okay, so it's like never fun to see yourself on screen, but we got through it. So Meyer, you had pointed us to different indigenized ways of storytelling, examples of water, wind, and trees, constellations. Today, we want to bring this story to you in the form of a hiking trail. So having you actually follow the path that our participants did and taking you step by step to what they did. We did start with a cedar tea ceremony with our co-designer, Bill Hill, and that just got us in the right mindset. And once the whole group was together, we did have an opening smudge as well. So Trina and Michelle are going to talk about the welcome.
Okay, so our guest, Michelle and I were the welcoming committee, and we were also the cheerleaders for the event. So our job was really to boost interest and to get people jazzed up about what they were about to experience. And with what Amy described as the beautiful drizzly weather, it was almost a shared experience that we had together with all the participants that came. So as I said, our job was to welcome people, and I'll turn it over to Michelle for the specifics of what that looked like. Do you want me to take over, Michelle? Okay, so basically people would, we had a pathway. Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I couldn't get off mute. I'm sorry. So now, okay. So what we did, we had, first thing we did was we confirmed registration. We had a number of people who registered, but we had a number of walk-ins who were, they'd be looking out the window wondering what's going on out there. And so they came over, checked it out, even though it was rainy. One of the things that we did have to, let people know is to watch your step because it was quite muddy. We did have a path of landscape fabric that kind of gave the trek around the stations. We did describe the experience to the registration individuals about following the path. We had 6 stations, and we were estimating about 5 minutes a station. We had a little shaker that would tell the time of when they moved on to the next station. The big thing, was we were excited about is giving them a loot bag. So everybody got a loot bag because there was lots of free giveaways at the station. And Barb will tell more about that in a later slide. One of the Reforest London, they gave away free trees to all the participants. And we were excited to let them know that if they needed help getting those trees in their car, that we could certainly do that. And also, just reminding people following the safety protocol, masking, keeping 6 feet apart, and wearing your masks all the time. But it was a great welcome.
Awesome. So the first station that people went to was the Nourish Project station. And we basically just wanted to socialize the idea that we're doing this work, what our 3 pillars are, which is reduce food waste, buy local, and grow on site. And we were able to give away notebooks for people to write down their learning. And it was designed by a Métis artist, beautiful work, gave them a little pen too. And then as people were interested, we gave them more information about the Food is Our Medicine program or course through a little card that once they were done reading it, they could plant it and grow wildflowers. So that was a huge hit. And also our environmental services department explained our composting and recycling. So next we encouraged people to the Indigenous Teaching Station, and Bill Hill, who is a retired mental health nurse, but also the lead of Bigajisikon Indigenous Pathway to Wellness, and a very knowledgeable and passionate Mohawk man. He was able to talk about the connection between land and food, the land being our mother and our relative, and an important part of everything that we do. He explained the sacred medicines and the medicine wheel, the 4 directions, and he led people through smudge and also through the fact that you can use cedar like in a bath or in a tea. So every person who came was able to take cedar home to make tea at their house. And we did get that from Turtle Lodge Trading to support them. And Bill showed his beautiful work making homemade drums. And then next we sent them over to the local station.
Yes, and I was the one that was spearheading this particular station. So just featuring some of the benefits of purchasing local. So less travel has less impact on the environment, fresher products when they're closer to home, especially seasonal fruits and vegetables. Also featured some of the local products and so farmers that we already feature on our menu, such as Ontario turkey farmers, dairy, as well as frozen vegetables. It was the surprise to a lot of the people coming through about how many things we're already using that we weren't aware of or they weren't aware of. And that a lot of the frozen vegetables that we use during our winter season are grown right in southwestern Ontario. We are very fortunate to have great land right in our backyard that does source all of this great product. As well, we featured some of the smaller vendors that we do use when products are in season. So starting in April and going right till October, November, depending on the season, we feature fresh asparagus, corn on the cob, field tomatoes, strawberries, blueberries, and stone fruits. And our residents and patients really look forward to those. Again, it was very educational for people coming through, knowing that we've been doing this for a number of years and growing how often we do feature these products as well. And as you can see in the picture, the big takeaway at this particular booth was local Royal Gala apples that were just ready in time for our event from Great Lakes Farms near Port Stanley, which is on the shores of Lake Erie. And we also had lots of featured recipes for producing products that are in season from Foodland Ontario. So those were available to us, and many people love the recipes. So this booth was definitely a hit because there was information they weren't aware of. So it was educational as well as lots of takeaways for them to produce some of these seasonal recipes at home.
Yeah, we've got to give Barb credit. It was the top rated station once we did a post survey. So the last learning station was our community partners. And Reforest London is a group within our city who's promoting like more trees in the already forest city. And they were able to give 1 or 2 trees to every person who came out. So almost 200 trees, I believe it was. And we also had Urban Roots London. So they repurpose unused land into farmland, and they have a model of thirds. So 33% of what they grow is sold to the community at affordable prices. 33% is donated for free, and 33% is sold at market value to like food services and restaurants. So they do awesome work.
Next up, we had the soup station. So in this cold, windy weather that we're experiencing, we handed out a sample of the Three Sisters soup. So Three Sisters soup is made with corn, squash, and beans, and they're typically grown together because they all help each other grow strong. So the corn acts as the stalk for the beans to grow around. The beans give off nitrogen into the soil, and the squash covers the ground to act as a barrier to make the ground moist and to keep pests away and weeds from growing. So this soup was served back in June for National Indigenous Peoples Day and was developed in collaboration with Chef Bruno from the Oneida Nation of the Thames Community Center. And this recipe is now also being used at the hospital's daycare center for the kids. So we serve the soup in a compostable bowl with a lid, which is already used across all our sites for hot and cold purposes. And we're also sampling a spoon that's also compostable and locally made in Ontario. And we plan to make the switch to in the near future. And this event it allowed us to sample the spoon with a large sample size. And we asked for the patient's feedback from the survey. And we also gave out, we offered everyone a magnet, which says a Circle of All Nations, a Culture of Peace magnet, which was also from the Turtle Lodge Trading Post. So at this station, we experienced all the elements, earth, air, water, and I may have had a small fire by the end in the chafing dishes, but everything was safe.
And next, they came to our farewell station. And here's where we thank them for braving the weather and attending our event. We had a flip chart available for them where they could write down their big ideas from the learning of our event. We also let them know to watch their inbox as they'd be receiving an email from us with a link to a survey from the event today. And also we let them know that just for attending, they would be entered for some fabulous prizes from some of our local vendors, which were some seasonal prizes. As well, on our intranet page, we had the details of our events for staff across our sites that weren't able to attend. They could review our material and submit their email address, and as well, they would have access to the prize draws. And then next, for our stats and feedback from our learning stations, we had 147 people actually attend the event in person. And from our surveys, we received 66 responses. Overall, after the event, our inboxes were flooded with positive feedback. And you can see from the comments below, folks were really excited that they were able to attend. We received 4.58 stars out of 5. And their favorite station was the local food station, as Amy already mentioned. And in the top right corner, you can see there was feedback about the cedar tea and how appreciative they were to learn about our cedar tea that we gave away as a sample that day.
Okay, so just real quick, because I have some reason to believe we're probably taking a long time. We loved meeting new people and understanding that they are passionate about the stuff that we are passionate about too. And it seems like because we had some prompts and some materials to give away, that relationship is going to continue and be long lasting. We did find the weather really hard, but still people came out, so that was good. And it was obviously a really quick event. So we hope that in the future we have much more time to have deeper discussions. So with that, we can jump to some questions.
Thanks, everybody. I think we have 1 minute for discussion for this particular, but we do have 15 minutes at the end, so don't worry. We can get more questions. So if anyone has any comments right now. Is it good? Well, thank you for that. I'm really curious to know what the big ideas were at the end. So we can talk about that more later, I think. But really happy to hear about the Three Sisters soup and the cedar tea. That was a hit. Okay, and Jenny Cross loved the recipe cards. Okay, so if we want to move on to Montreal now, I just want to make sure, Rachel, for the interpretation, does everybody have to be on English if they would like to hear French interpretation?
Yep, that's correct. If you have any difficulty, just send me a message in the chat and I'll help you out there.
Okay, great. So I believe it's Annie.
Oui, désolée, ma caméra ne fonctionne pas. Est-ce que tout le monde m'entend en anglais? Ça va? Je vais partager mon écran. Merci. Bon? OK. Donc, évidemment, avec le peu de temps qu'on avait là, pour planifier les activités à Montréal, je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais tous les organismes qu'on avait contactés, ou plusieurs en tout cas, pour des activités vraiment, des ateliers terrain, étaient très, très occupés, très en demande. Je ne sais pas si c'est la pénurie ou de personnel ou la COVID, mais les délais étaient courts. Donc, on a fait plusieurs ateliers, la majorité en visioconférence, malheureusement. Mais on a quand même eu l'occasion de faire une rencontre en présentiel. Donc, je vais vous présenter plusieurs de nos ateliers. Donc, le premier, c'était avec Wapikoni. Wapikoni, c'est un organisme là, qui fait des films. Il se déplace là, partout à travers le Canada, dans les 89 communautés au Canada, dans 27 nations différentes. Puis, ils font des courts-métrages avec des participants autochtones, évidemment, qui sont formés pour faire du cinéma documentaire. Donc, c'est des petits documentaires là, qui vont peut-être de 5 à 8 minutes. Puis, eux autres encouragent vraiment les gens à proposer. C'est des trucs très, très, très personnels. Donc, les cinéastes amateurs, là, ils écrivent eux-mêmes leurs films et font la réalisation. Puis, c'était très touchant. Dans le fond, si vous allez sur le site web de Wapikoni, il y a des centaines de films, mais ils nous en ont présenté 5. Les 5 qu'ils nous ont présentés étaient très positifs, même si c'était de la douleur exprimée dans les films. Il en ressortait quand même une lumière. Donc, on pouvait voir, par exemple, une jeune autochtone enceinte qui parlait à son bébé, qui lui souhaitait vraiment de s'accomplir dans le monde. Il y en avait un, qu'est-ce qu'on a retenu plus aussi? Bien, il y en avait un jeune qui disait « Permettez-moi, écoutez-moi encore un peu. » Puis, en tout cas, de la façon que c'était filmé et présenté, c'était vraiment touchant de nous présenter comme ça leur réalité à travers plusieurs communautés. Donc, je pense que ça nous a permis de connaître un bel organisme là, qui, eux aussi, offrent des ateliers, mais on n'a pas pu avoir un atelier en présentiel avec eux parce qu'ils sont très, très en demande. Donc, ça, c'était pour le premier atelier. Sinon, pour le deuxième, donc, on a eu ici le chef héréditaire algonquin, Dominique Rankins, qui nous a parlé. Sa conférence s'appelait « On nous appelait les sauvages ». Donc, c'est un vibrant témoignage là, qu'il nous a offert. Puis, je laisserai là, Émilie. Je ne sais pas si Émilie est là. Je ne l'ai peut-être pas vue tantôt. Est-ce qu'elle est là, Émilie?
Je ne lui vois pas, mais si tu es là, Émilie, tu peux commencer à parler.
Sinon, je peux raconter là, si elle n'est pas là. Donc, Émilie, quelque chose qu'elle avait retiré vraiment de l'histoire, parce qu'il nous a entretenu sur sa vie, sur ce qu'il a vécu dans les pensionnats, comment il s'en est sorti et tout ça. Puis, ce qu'Émilie retenait, c'est qu'il nous a dit qu'il n'y a pas de mots pour exprimer la violence faite aux enfants. Donc, quand il en parlait à sa famille, il fallait qu'il fasse des mimes parce qu'il ne pouvait pas l'exprimer. Et malgré tout, là, qu'il avait gardé un beau souvenir de l'apprentissage du français, la langue qu'il a appris dans les pensionnats. Donc, c'était touchant là, d'entendre cette histoire-là. Aller de l'avant, progresser. Marie-Claude aussi, là, dans notre équipe. Marie-Claude, je ne sais pas si tu veux mentionner, mais je peux y aller. Donc, Marie-Claude avait apprécié beaucoup qu'il nous parlait du cercle de la vie. Donc, tu ne peux pas pardonner parce que sinon, tu attends que l'autre reconnaisse ses torts. Donc, tu restes dans l'attente si l'autre ne reconnaît pas ses torts. Mais tu peux l'accepter et le réconcilier. Donc, le dire à la personne, puis que ça lui appartient à partir de maintenant, cette histoire. Donc, c'était vraiment une belle histoire là, de résilience. Puis, il nous parlait aussi de la tortue. Donc, la tête de la tortue. Il ne faut pas être dans la tête de la tortue. Ça représente le futur, l'anxiété, ni dans la queue de la tortue pour le passé, la nostalgie, mais d'être sur la carapace pour vivre pleinement sa vie. Et aussi que dans la nature, ben, ses poupées, lui, quand il était jeune, c'était des oursons, des petits oursons qui s'occupaient quand ils perdaient leur mère. Ils s'occupaient des petits ours dans la forêt. Donc, c'est une très belle histoire. Sinon, la prochaine rencontre qu'on a eue, c'était avec une anthropologue.
I can't hear anything. Is that the same for everybody? Yeah. Okay. Have we lost Annie or?
I'm trying to figure it out. I think we might have lost Annie. I don't see her anymore. And I think it might have cut out, unfortunately.
Okay.
I know that there are other people from the Montreal team. Marion is here. If you'd like to speak, no pressure, but if you'd like to speak, I invite you to unmute yourself and speak about the Montreal experience as we wait for Annie to come back.
Allô?
Oh.
Ça a coupé à quel endroit, Rachel?
Oui, on peut entendre.
OK. Parce que Marion aussi, son Internet a coupé. Donc, on est au travail les deux. Je vais essayer de partager sur mon... Je ne sais pas si je suis capable de faire ça.
Pardon, Annie. Désolée, c'est Rachel ici. Pour t'entendre en français, il faut que tu sélectionnes la langue française en bas sur l'option d'interprétation.
Oui, parfait. C'est
Merci.
bon?
Oui, c'est bon.
Je vais essayer de partager sur mon cellulaire parce que notre Internet ne fonctionne plus. Donc,
il n'y a pas de problème. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose que je peux partager pour vous de mon côté? Ah, je vois l'écran.
Là, si vous voyez mon écran de téléphone, hein?
Oh, sont cute, nos enfants.
Je m'excuse. Oh mon Dieu, ça ne va pas bien. Je ne sais pas comment faire. Comme ça, peut-être? Faire une présentation sur cet appareil. Je suis désolée, Marion aussi, son Internet a lâché. Est-ce que vous voyez bien?
Oui, on voit bien. Merci, c'est parfait.
Est-ce que ça avait arrêté ici? Est-ce que vous pouvez me dire où j'étais arrêtée?
Oui, ça avait
Je pense
arrêté
que
là.
c'était avec Nicole, c'était cette diapositive.
Ah, OK,
Yeah, we can
parfait.
see you. This is great. Thanks, Annie.
OK. Marion, tu es là?
Oui, oui, j'ai pu me reconnecter.
OK. Donc, j'essaie de retourner par en arrière. Je m'excuse. Donc, Marion, je vais te laisser peut-être parler un peu pour Kim.
Pour Nicole. Oui, donc on a fait une conférence donc, avec Nicole qui est
Excusez-moi, pardon, Marion.
Oui.
Il faut que tu sélectionnes une langue en
Ah,
bas.
ok. J'ai mis... Là, c'est bon?
C'est parfait, merci.
Oui, il y a tout qui... Désolée, mais avec la déconnexion, il fallait que je reparamètre tout. Donc, on a eu une conférence avec Nicole qui nous a parlé donc la conception de la médecine, la vision de la santé et du bien-être, et aussi tout ce qui était les liens avec l'alimentation. Donc, ce qu'elle nous disait, c'est lors des repas communautaires, ce que l'on voit le plus, c'est le rire. Tout le monde rit ensemble. Et on sait déjà qui apporte quoi. On n'a pas besoin de séparer les tâches. C'était les anecdotes finalement qu'elle nous donnait par rapport au repas communautaire.
Puis c'est ça, elle nous a aussi expliqué que ce qui était vraiment compliqué l'année passée pendant la gestion de crise au niveau de la Covid, c'est que la communauté ne pouvait pas se retrouver, puis surtout pour partager des repas, et que c'était vraiment un aspect qui pour eux avait été vraiment difficile à traverser en fait. Donc par rapport à leur culture. Et aussi un point un concept finalement au niveau de la médecine qui m'avait marqué, c'était l'aspect que dans le diagnostic, il fallait aussi considérer la famille. Il fallait qu'il y ait une personne de la famille qui vienne avec nous quand on va chez le médecin, que finalement, c'était vraiment une approche complètement différente, puis que nous, au niveau dans nos services de santé, c'est des choses qu'on va pas intégrer. Donc, on trouvait que c'était un aspect intéressant.
Que c'est problématique actuellement parce que des fois, ils refusent justement qu'il y ait un proche présent. Puis l'autre chose aussi, c'était que le service par les Blancs, l'approche n'est pas adéquate pour plusieurs d'entre eux. Dans le fond, parler du travail, c'est pas par ça qu'on commence. Il faut parler de la famille. Si on connaît une chanson traditionnelle, qu'il y ait un sujet qui soit plus personnel pour entrer en contact, de ne pas regarder dans les yeux, qui ne nous regardent pas dans les yeux quand on parle. Donc, ça peut être des perceptions qui rendent le service à l'hôpital complexe. Donc, ça nous fait réfléchir là, sur notre attitude qu'on doit adopter là, face aux Autochtones, entre autres. Donc, l'autre présentation qu'on a eue, donc c'est un monsieur là, de la communauté Wabanaki, d'Odanak et de Wolinac, qui est expert dans les plantes médicinales. Donc, il a écrit un livre là, que je vous ai mis, la photo « Plantes du soleil levant, Wabanaki ». Donc, on lui a demandé finalement de faire un livre parce que tous les secrets, hein, on dit, c'est des secrets dans le sens que la tradition orale est en train de se perdre vu qu'on n'a pas assez écouté là, ou appris, possiblement à cause de notre évolution dans la façon de faire, toutes les plantes médicinales. Donc, on lui a demandé d'écrire un livre et il nous a présenté plusieurs plantes, justement, leurs bénéfices, quand les récolter, comment les conserver, la quantité à prendre hein, pour pas qu'il y ait des déséquilibres quand on prend trop d'une seule plante, l'importance de la modération. Puis, il nous a parlé aussi du fait que les plantes, il ne faut pas les appeler des mauvaises herbes. Donc, si on l'appelle mauvaise herbe, c'est qu'on ne sait pas à quoi elles nous servent et on devrait juste apprendre à les utiliser et non à les voir comme des mauvaises herbes. Donc, très intéressant. J'ai acheté le livre suite à cette conférence-là et il est très, très beau. Il disait que l'image, c'est le moment où tu dois récolter parce que c'est important, le moment de la récolte, le matin en plein soleil versus le soir ou à l'automne ou tout ça. Donc, chaque plante, quand les récolter, c'est très intéressant. L'autre événement, dans le fond, ça a été avec le Carrefour alimentaire Centre-Sud. On a organisé un repas communautaire avec, c'était la fille finalement de Nicole Obomsawin, Lisanne, qui est venue, qui avait fait son poisson fumé à la maison, qui l'a apporté. Fumé avec son fumoir à elle et elle a fait la salade des 3 sœurs, donc haricots jaunes, maïs et courges. Il servait aussi du thé du Labrador et il y avait le pain bannique et il donnait aussi là, la recette du pain bannique. Donc, ça situait le repas communautaire dans la promenade des saveurs, qui est un projet là, du Carrefour alimentaire avec qui est dans le collectif, là, évidemment. Et finalement, c'était la plus grande route comestible au Canada, là, cette promenade-là des saveurs, parce qu'on fait pousser des légumes, des fines herbes et tout ça pendant l'été. Et c'est accessible là, au quartier. Donc, c'était une belle rencontre à ce moment-là. On a pu manger ensemble en vrai, après 2 ans de se côtoyer à distance. Et finalement, parce qu'il nous restait du budget, donc pour le dernier événement qu'on va faire, c'est pour notre retraite qu'on va faire dans les prochaines semaines. On va faire affaire avec le café de la Maison Ronde. C'est le premier café autochtone à Montréal, en fait le seul. C'est un café qui embauche parce qu'il y a quand même un problème d'itinérance à Montréal et dans ce coin-là, le Square Cabot, c'est vraiment un endroit de prédilection. Là, c'est beaucoup des Autochtones, surtout des Inuits, en fait, qui sont en situation d'itinérance et qui se tiennent à cet endroit-là. Puis le café a pour vocation d'amener la mixité sociale, d'amener de mieux connaître la réalité de ces personnes-là. Ils vont les embaucher à la journée. Donc, parce que ce n'est pas nécessairement des personnes qui vont rester, mais ils peuvent travailler une journée. Il y a des programmes de réinsertion sociale. Donc, ils vont vraiment les aider à se remettre sur pied, à se trouver un travail, un logement. Puis, leur menu se compose entièrement de repas d'inspiration autochtone ou traditionnelle, des aliments traditionnels. Puis, ils essaient de faire affaire aussi avec des compagnies autochtones là, comme les Tomahawk Chips ou la tisane, je pense que c'est Northern Light, je ne sais pas. Donc, on va les encourager avec les repas. Puis, il y a aussi un montant qu'on va donner, que c'est des cartes que les Autochtones en situation d'itinérance vont recevoir. Et avec ces cartes-là, ils vont pouvoir manger dans les organismes aux alentours là, qui donnent des repas aux plus démunis. Donc, c'est une façon là, d'adresser cette problématique-là qui est quand même très présente à Montréal, dans ce coin-là, au métro Atwater. Donc, voilà, ça fait le tour de nos activités. J'essaie d'arrêter le partage. Voilà.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks, everybody. Well done with the tech problems. And that was an amazing presentation, too. You did a lot of great things. We're a little bit behind, so unless anyone has anything burning that they want to share right now, just going to move on to the next team. I think we're good to go for Toronto.
Yes, hi, how's everybody? Really great presentation so far. So this is ours, and we had an amazing experience. We were very privileged to partner with Edge of the Bush Teachings and, Edge of the Bush Teachings, and gather along the Humber River, which historically has been a very important route of great significance. And the Huron and Petun First Nations first set up fishing camps here. It was a site of encampments for many Indigenous First Nations, home to the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Yeah, so on Treaty 13 land. So we were very privileged to have the chance to partake in a wigwam building. So we have a few photos here. It was open to the community. It was organized partly by one of the Indigenous partners and caterers from the farm or in association with the farm, as well as the Indigenous Edge of the Bush Teachings and the Indigenous Youth Agency, NAGB. And this space, which is kind of run by the Toronto Region and Conservation Authority, basically allows the Indigenous people in the area to be the stewards of the land and take care of it. And so they are able to use this land for teaching purposes. And so there were sweat lodges and other wigwams that were built and constructed in this area, this beautiful area along the Humber River, for teaching purposes, because many of the traditions had been lost due to genocide and colonialism. And so this is part of Dr. Martin's wish, is that he can kind of bring back these traditions and get more youth involved and other community members. So, you know, we did learn about land sovereignty and food sovereignty, you know, offering tobacco to give thanks. So that's what they did when they started to assemble the wigwam together. We had a beautiful feast and a ceremony that was led by an elder who sang these beautiful songs. And actually at one point it was very powerful that she invited members to beat a drum or shake a rattle that she had brought, which mimicked sort of the heartbeat, and then sang this gorgeous song. So we all shared food together. We were brought together by storytelling, and it was a really incredible experience, which got us thinking. So Fatin is going to type in the chat, because when we tried this video, it didn't work. So he's going to type in the chat the link to this video, and we're all going to watch it simultaneously, just depending on connections. So we'll play it here, but if you could open it up on your screens and watch it at the same time, and then we will be able to discuss it. So thank you, Miigwech.
I think we might need Faten to just put the link in, because it's not available for everybody.
Oh,
yeah, we just see a big blank space in the chat.
No,
maybe it's like a next
oh,
level
really?
link. Oh, okay, now it's filled in.
Okay,
Great.
sorry about that.
Problem.
Sorry, you can see the chat text?
Yeah, it showed up now.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll give everyone a chance to get on that. And
we can come back in 6 minutes. Okay.
So I don't know if everyone's back or if everyone's seen the video. Yeah, okay, awesome. So I'll just continue. So again, it was a really magical experience, and we were feeling very privileged to be able to take part in it. You know, I think there's something to be said in working together collaboratively. And so this was a nice metaphor for the kind of partnerships and work that we'll hopefully be doing in the future when we're actually like building something together. So building that wigwam was amazing. You know, obviously we didn't have enough time, or we wished we had more time to sort of be able to promote this wider to the community. As we had it, we had some community members, we had some staff from the farm and some staff from our health center who were able to attend. So it was a nice mix of everybody, but we would have liked it to have been more. But as it was, you know, we all actually perfectly fit into the wigwam. So maybe, maybe that was meant to be. Whoops. Yeah, so basically, you know, there's so much more to learn. Obviously, we've just kind of even reached just the tip of it. So there is so much more to learn, and you know, more relationships that hopefully, like Hopi said, we'll be able to cultivate as we go along. This was incredibly humbling, and a lot of this knowledge was very new for me. And so yeah, so we look forward to learning more and working together. And if Fatin or Jess would like to add any other reflections to this.
Yeah, no, just a shout out to Candice Eskimo. It was like really helpful for organizing this event and also supporting the work that we're doing at the farm. And this is also like a culmination of, I think, you know, relationship that we've been building over like a year and a half. She was part of the take-home dinner that we had last year. She's part of it again this year.
She made the best food. It was such a good feast.
And yeah, made the feast as well. So it's been great to kind of see like the different puzzle like pieces kind of connecting. Yeah, that's all.
And Jess, if you have anything to add.
Yes, hi, thank you for the great presentation, Phoebe, too. I think it captured a lot of the like magic from the day and the video as well. Really grateful that we could have that made. So thank you, thank you. And the food was delicious. Yes, the salmon and the wild rice and the strawberry juice.
So good.
Yes, yes, and cedar tea too. Yeah, it was just really great. And I know that we talked before about like advice, just assume that you know nothing. And yeah, it was a great learning experience, and I'm really excited to keep working with them in the future.
So that's it for us. Any questions?
For all of that, that's beautiful. Does anybody have any questions or comments? We're a little bit over, but it's okay if you do. We have a little bit of time, wiggle room at the end.
Fatina's plugging the farm fundraiser, which is a really wonderful take-home dinner. So if you are in the Toronto area, she will be a part of that, and it's really worth it.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And now we're going to hear from Team Saskatchewan. So I believe it's Charlotte.
Hi, everyone. Am I able to share my screen?
You should be.
Can you see that?
Can you see it? Not quite yet.
Okay.
It's up now, Charlotte.
Excellent. All right, let's get it going here. All right, well, thank you for the opportunity to present on our team's learnings and our experience. I'm very honored to present on behalf of our team, and I know that we have a few folks from our team on, so if you have anything to add throughout or at the end, please feel free to jump in. And I just want to acknowledge that I'm Charlotte Palat Burns. I'm in Saskatoon and I'm on Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of the Métis. So our story is a team of a province. So when Jessica was talking about the vast array of where you can go and need to go, we would like to say we had that same situation. So the first slide here shows a little bit about our province, and we have 74 First Nations and over 100,000 Métis folks spread throughout the province. And so narrowing down where we would like to go to learn was a task in itself, but we did narrow it down, and you'll see in the middle in the blue, Saskatoon, and then a little higher up towards the orange in the left corner is Meadow Lake. And so we had folks come from down in the yellow zone in Regina up to Saskatoon, and then we all traveled together up to Meadow Lake, back to Saskatoon, and then the folks from Regina traveled back down. So our land-based learning experience was spread over 5 days. We started on the beautiful South Saskatchewan River, and we had a pipe ceremony led by an elder, and he was very patient with us and taught us. Not only did he do the ceremony, but he taught us all about the ceremony, and we spent half a day doing that, and it was a beautiful experience. And that photo is in the top right corner. Then the following week on the Monday, we had the folks come in from Regina, and we hadn't all met together in person before this. So our core team of 12 people were meeting for the first time on the Monday evening, and we went to a local establishment called the Local Kitchen. We had a Métis chef, and he worked with local ingredients. We had some beautiful Three Sisters soup. We had bison and mushroom and wild rice. We had sweetgrass and berry for part of our dessert. And he really interacted with us as much as you can in the COVID situation. Normally, we probably would have been prepping the meal with him, but he did a very interactive, and we had a wonderful evening meeting each other. For the rest of the events, it was the 12 core group folks from the University of Saskatchewan, the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and CHEP Good Food. And we felt that this was an opportunity based on budget and time constraints that we would all get to know each other and learn about each other as a team. And then in future events, we would like to invite others from our organizations in. So we went, if you keep working your way down, going left, you'll see that we were in the gardens. We visited 2 community gardens, as well as CHEP Run Gardens. And CHEP stands for Child Hunger Education Program, for those that don't know. And it was a beautiful experience to be in an urban setting. And as we were walking between gardens, we also saw some really creative gardens on boulevards and ways that people are looking at food security within the city as well. Then later that day, we went out to Wanuskewin Heritage Park, and we had a beautiful meal together there, as well as we went and we learned about the bison. They've been reintroducing bison to the park, as well as we learned from an elder and from an ethnobotanist about food on the land, and we were able to try lots of foods from the land. So you'll see that kind of down at the bottom in the middle there. So then the following day, we packed up our vehicles and we went to Meadow Lake, and we started out the day learning from Métis folks about traditions, and also having some Métis traditional foods and having an opportunity to dance. So you'll see that there's children involved with all of these events. We were able to bring our children, and our hosts were able to bring their children, and we interacted with elders all throughout. Then the following morning, after having an evening in Meadow Lake, we went to Flying Dust First Nation, and we were able to do some learning on the land. In the bottom left corner, you'll see the photo, and right beside it, there was a hayride as well. So we went to the farm and learned about how they are looking at their food security and food sovereignty within their community. And they talked us through their potato production and just how they do that for the community. And then there was a hayride, and then an adventure over to by the river, building a teepee and learning from elders and having a beautiful meal together. So for us, some of the key points on learning with our partners, when we did our evaluation, we invited our partners to evaluate the experience as well, and we got some really good feedback. And so from all of us, we thought that being patient with the time and the process was something that we really focused in on. For some folks, it was learning about the spiritual aspect and the interconnection of everything, looking to the land for the answers. And looking at that sustainability and having that change driven within the community. A big focus of our days together were sharing knowledge and respect, building on relationships within communities and with the land, and developing systems for self-reliance and income within communities and learning about that. So what are people doing throughout our province to do that? And obviously we just got a small snapshot during this time. Our environment is under siege, and we kept hearing that from all of our partners that we were learning from, and those that are living with the land see it clearly every day. And so it was a good reminder for us. This one was a little harder for us to tease out. For the healthcare connections, we were all coming from different perspectives, and some of us were more literal, some of us were more abstract, but where we landed was our focus would be on true engagement. And we know it will take time to build these partnerships and the trust. And we learned that there is a large group of folks that have distrust for larger organizations and institutions based on the history. And making real connections can help rebuild that trust. And we know that that comes with great responsibility. And that came through in many of our conversations. We know that we have opportunity to become environmental stewards. And we had some practical ideas come out too. So we've seen this in other projects we've worked on, and it's looking at introducing more language into our menus and into our communications with patients, highlighting where the food is from and the relationship with the land. And we heard loud and clear from at least one elder that we need to hire more First Nations and Métis people. So our process for the land-based learning, we felt that there was many things that went well. We made connections across our team, which was fantastic. We connected with other people, communities, organizations. Meeting with people in person was fantastic. After having so many virtual meetings, that was the highlight for most of us. And being away for a couple of days from work aided us in being focused in this work and how we could really get creative and really think ahead. And we had a genuine appreciation from our hosts. In all situations, our partners said, we are really happy you came to us to learn from us where we live. And so the effort that we took was very appreciated. And of course, as we heard from other groups, tasting is important. So we were eating the plants off the land, we were eating food from different parts of the province, and we were really enjoying that piece together. And there was a lot of vulnerability in our group on both ends. And so there was open communication and shared understanding, really good times, and just so many laughs. And I think that that probably would have been felt in other groups as well. So a couple things we thought for the future. What we found, and especially behind the scenes, was things changed by the moment. And it could have been COVID related, I'm not sure, but we had chefs changing, we had community partners changing, we had right till the last minute our hosts saying, oh, people showed up at our event and kind of hijacked the event, and it went in a totally different direction than we expected. And so some of our pieces that we had planned for very carefully didn't transpire that day, but we felt as a team that all of the learnings were valuable. So even if we didn't get some of those pieces, we still felt that what we did was great. Mother Nature had different ideas. We were going to canoe. Well, the water levels were too low. We had fire bans, so we couldn't bake bannock on the fire. So we were really flexible. And that would be something that I'm sure other teams have found as well. We definitely went in with an open heart and open mind. And we all came from different perspectives. And so some folks really, this was a new experience for them, and other people, it's a lived experience, and it brought back nostalgia for them. And so that was interesting within our team. And we know that the scale of time for other communities may not be the scale of time for us. And so that came through loud and clear, especially as a planner, when I would say, you know, these are the dates that we're looking at, this is our deadline. That didn't always work for communities that we were reaching out to. And we know that long-term, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. We know it's going to be continuous work to keep building these relationships and maintaining them. And we feel it's very important for us to circle back with the folks that we worked with during land-based learning as we progress through our learnings in the Nourish Anchor Collaborative, and make sure that we're providing them with updates, reconnecting. And one of the quotes from one of our participants was that, you know, for folks, some of us, we were feeling like really overwhelmed and immobilized. And this really helped us to ground ourselves and see the potential and our ability to act. And always questioning, is this what the communities we want to work with want? So, you know, we may not find the communities we target and want to work with us. So that's our experience, and I'd like to open it up to anybody else from the team if you'd like to add anything at this point. And I do have to say, as a last word, the target to try and spend 80% with Indigenous businesses. I was talking to Meyer about this. It was a great goal, and we met it, and we were very proud of that. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thanks, Charlotte. That was amazing. Does anybody have any questions or comments? You can open it up to the whole presentation now. We have about 20 minutes left, so hopefully we'll have some good conversation. Shelley and Margaret say, wow, you did a lot.
So I've got a question. I saw some really good like meals and food happening there. Does any group want to share what they ate? Like there were a few pictures, but I just want to hear what the foods were.
I can share some of the food that we ate in Sioux Lookout. There was a beautiful moose meal. I don't know, Dan, if you want to chime in and talk about our moose exchange that we had with the chef in the parking lot. But it was a beautiful meal, and it was really nice to sit with everybody and eat. We had lots of fun doing that. Phoebe says we had salmon and wild rice, chili and bread, and a strawberry drink. We can also try and pretend that we're in a room together, and we can actually take ourselves off mute and just speak freely too. Don't be shy. And you can turn your cameras on too.
So we had a potluck sort of situation, but also mainly from our chef Candace. But we were introduced to the idea of feast bundles, which I love. So that's where everyone actually brings their own like cutlery and you know, plate and all of that stuff, and then we share it. And so that had a really nice like sustainability to it. So we weren't wasting, you know, plastic cups, and we were able to reuse our things.
Right, and oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead, Jess.
This is Jess from Toronto too. I just wanted to add in that just brought up for me when Phoebe mentioned the feast bundles. I remember talking with Candace before we went as well. And there's kind of like a guideline, I guess, like no one brings like plastic bottles to the space either. We use like reusable bottles for water. So that was great that everyone did that. And yeah, everyone brought different food to share. I can share Candace Catering's her website in the chat as well. It shows all of the foods that she makes, which is amazing. Yeah, the chili was great too, the venison chili.
I just really appreciate being transported to all of your experiences through your stories today. It's yeah, I'm so moved to hear about the things that you learned and the experiences you had and the bonds that you're building together within your teams and your communities. So just a really heartfelt thank you for sharing everything that you did on the call today. I'm curious if any of the teams might want to comment on what they might have observed in terms of how some of these experiences are currently or could be in the future integrated more into their healthcare systems, if that's something that you talked about or kind of became more apparent as you were out on the land. I'm curious to hear about any conversations that came up tied to that and how you might see integrating some of that learning into the work that you're going to do together as we move forward in the cohort.
Robin, I think for Team Saskatchewan, one thing that came up for us was when we were at the community gardens and just the discussions around all the green space we have around our hospitals and long-term care homes and volunteer capacity. Like, we could do a lot within our grounds, and that wasn't the focus of what we were looking at, but it was definitely a great learning we pulled from it. It's potential.
Thanks, Charlotte, for sharing that. Yeah. That's something I think I know the team in London has talked about too, is kind of using your space differently and the opportunities for that might be emerging now, and hopefully having some support within the organization to try out some different ways of using land that's been there, but not traditionally, maybe optimized in terms of how it can serve patients and families in the community.
I think too, just the act of getting people outside, like when you work in a large organization where everybody's inside all of the time, having an event outside was very meaningful, even with the beautiful, wonderful weather we had. People did get wet, they did get muddy, but it was a shared experience. And again, getting people outside and bringing people together was just such a rich experience, and it caused a lot of jazz in the hallway later in the day. So it just what we've learned from that is if we're hosting events, don't be afraid to get outside and enjoy nature and connect people with the land. It just is so nurturing.
I think for us too, the importance of storytelling and hearing people's stories and how diverse everyone is and all their needs, which are not, some obviously have shared things, but for the most part, I think people need individual care plans and have individual needs. And so I think being aware of those when we address them in our healthcare would be important, and food sovereignty as well, like allowing people to grow the culturally specific food that they need and have access to the culturally specific food, especially in our area where it can be either pricey or just not available. So I think those are things that we'll be thinking about.
I'll pose another question. I'm curious about time. Like, did anyone find it challenging to either get support from management to take the time to do this, or obviously competing priorities and workload? How was it to carve out this time? And do you feel like moving forward, it'll be something that could be done again?
I can maybe speak to this. For our team, finding time like with everyone's
quite hectic schedules, like especially over the end of the summer, was particularly difficult. And we definitely wish that we could have done. Oh, sorry.
Annie, I think you might be talking, but
I was off the interpretation. Sorry, I wanted to hear the people speaking in French, and I forgot to turn it back on. Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, it was definitely like quite challenging for our team to find time that everyone was available, and that's why like 2 teams was logistically a lot easier. And because like we all work, some people have like more regular daytime hours versus some don't. Yeah, that was definitely a challenge, but I think it highlighted for us the benefit of getting together and the benefit of these experiences, even if they're like for our team, they were a little bit shorter over time, but it was definitely quite a highlight for everyone. So I think it'll be easier moving forward to convince people to dedicate a little bit more time to this. So it was a good first step.
Thanks, Charlotte. I see your comment that there was great support and enthusiasm to make time. Yeah.
Hi, all. That's a great question, Tessie. Can people hear me okay? Okay, great. Yeah, I found that the time for the actual event wasn't too challenging for some of our team tasks, or at least for myself. But as mentioned with like the geography, factoring in the travel time was definitely a consideration. So a 1.5 day event takes 2.5 days when you count for 5-hour drives one way. And so yeah, I think like that was definitely a consideration. And then when you throw in the COVID restrictions, and so I wasn't allowed to carpool with people because I worked at the public health unit. So then the costs really add up as well. So we were able to take a lot of that in kind. But yeah, I think that it's like not just the time, but some of the other resources as well that can be a challenge. But I was really excited to hear that in Saskatchewan you met for 5 days. I think that's amazing. And some of the other projects too, it's really cool to hear about.
I'm hearing it's more like logistically challenging, but it sounds like on the most part there was support for doing this work and recognizing it as a priority and important, which is awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like some of this too, a lot of the challenges were around like following policy, number one, and then also COVID policy. Because I know, Vincent, when we were at that campsite, we had to almost move the tent because of COVID and because of different policies. So everyone did a really, really excellent job navigating around COVID-19 especially, and tight schedule. So miigwech for all the hard work, everybody. Does anybody have any other last reflections or comments?
Just to chime in, congratulations, just amazing. The window, the patterns, the themes that emerged, sharing all of this together too. Just appreciate everybody's time coming together. It feels like this autumn light shining in my window. And I think our team and hopefully the work you have planned going forward is really going to be strengthened by this experience and by being able to share with each other today. So thank you, everyone. And I'm a little jealous, I have to say, as Maya mentioned, our Nourish team hasn't even had the chance to meet each other. And we're very much looking forward for the powerful opportunity of, hopefully we all will come together as a cohort in 2022. We can have that happen and have that dream ahead of us, because I'm very much looking forward to that.
I'm wondering too if I see Jenny Cross and Margaret and Shelley, if there's anything that you'd like to share. I don't want to be on the spot, but I want to also thank you for coming as part of our advisory. And of course, Charlotte and Tessie too. Okay, well, I think everyone has shared. If there's anything that comes to mind after, please feel free to send a note to myself or Tessie. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. Also, next on your list of events is the place-based retreat. So if you haven't chosen your dates for that, it's the 2-day retreat. Let us know those dates soon. And then also Robin and Rachel and I will be reaching out to co-design the agenda with you. So that'll be up next. Is there anything that I missed for that, Robin or Rachel?
No, just I think teams are underway with their planning, and we know that several of the retreats are scheduled starting, I think maybe the first one's in the second week of November. So yeah, just really looking forward to supporting you with those, and the mix of kind of us helping with facilitating some sessions and also you doing some stuff on your own to continue the team building that you've been starting, and thinking about applications for the land-based learning into your work going forward. So yeah, no, I think that's great, Maya, but hopefully you're connecting with us. If you're not, or you have questions, you know we're always here. So we'll be reaching out to you anyway to help with that planning.
Great. Thanks, Robin. And thanks, everybody. I know it's hard to meet virtually, and I know we missed the side conversations, which happened a lot at the retreat. So I can stay on for a few more minutes if anybody wants to stay on for some more chats, or if not, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm a